TFL EV is brought to you by Flow Charger, maker of reliable, high-quality charging stations for your electric vehicle.
Hey everybody, I've got a great video for you today because we are taking a look at the fully electric Hummer EV, but not just any fully electric Hummer EV. Alex, if you want to follow me, this one is the highly anticipated SUV version. That's right, so the truck model has been out for a number of months now. We actually own one. We've done a ton of testing on that vehicle, but in today's video, we are taking a look at the SUV version, which I am really excited about because personally, this is the one that I would buy if I had $110,000, which is the sticker price on this vehicle. So let's talk about it. From right around here forward, the SUV is the same as the truck. So the doors are the same, the roof panels are the same, the roof panels are removable. The fenders here are the same, the front trunk is the same, the headlights, the intakes are all the same, the recovery points down here, the D-rings are all the same. What makes it special is really in the rear. But this is not simply a case of just adding a little bit more sheet metal because the wheelbase is substantially different on this vehicle compared to the truck version. We're talking something like 9 inches shorter overall length, something like 20 inches shorter, which greatly improves the off-road capability of this truck. And that's one of the main reasons I'm so excited about it. Now let's talk about the design. Well, it is a classic Hummer. I did have a chance to talk to the design lead about this vehicle, and there are some really interesting design elements going on. So of course, this front here is made up of these 7 acrylic panels, which kind of represent a grille like you would find on an internal combustion vehicle, but check out that light layout. The way this works is they have LEDs that shine through this piece of acrylic, and then they don't actually make contact with anything until they reach the HUMMER material here in the center, and that's how they get that to glow. But it's a really cool piece of almost fiber optic technology where you're shining light beams through plastic to get it to bounce off different materials on the inside, which is very cool. Now, this is the first edition of this vehicle, so starting price on this will be right around $80,000 for the standard version, but this one is the first edition. So it's got the 830 horsepower output, and we'll talk about all that here in a sec, but first things first, let's check out the front trunk. Now, a couple of ways to open it. You can do it on the key, or there's a button located there in the center of the vehicle. Push the button and that front trunk will glide open. Now, it is a very high lift over height, so if you are looking to load big heavy items in here, it's going to be a little bit of a lift. This does have adaptive air suspension, so you can lower it down if you're looking for a little bit more kind of flexibility with getting things in and out. And then over here, Alex, you can see got a little bit of a light, got the little emergency escape there, and then here we have the bags for the removable hardtop panels. And we can show that here in a sec because I think that's one of the coolest features. Now, this model, as I mentioned, is about $110,000, so it's more expensive than the standard first edition by about $5,000, and that's because of these right here. So this is rolling on a set of 35-inch tall tires because this vehicle has the Extreme off-road package. And not only does that include the off-road tires, it includes 5 skid plates underneath, and it includes a front and a rear locking differential. Now, the differential setup is different than you might typically find on a vehicle of this nature because it has 2 electric motors in the rear that operate independently of each other. By locking the rear diff, you're essentially telling the computer to try to spin those wheels at the same speed, and then it has a mechanical front locking differential. 830 horsepower, 1,200 pound-feet of torque. So that number is actually a little bit less than the first edition truck. The truck gets up to 1,000 horsepower and then same 1,200 pound-feet of torque. But that means that the SUV will do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds versus the truck, which is 3 seconds. Battery capacity on this vehicle, we're looking at 170 kilowatt hours. It's got 20 modules. The truck has 24, 205 kilowatt hours. They're targeting over 300 miles on a single charge. The truck's a little bit higher than that. So there are some pretty substantial differences, but let's talk about the big difference, this whole rear end. So obviously, whereas the truck would have an open bed, we've got an enclosed space back here, and they have a mounted spare tire on the tailgate. This vehicle comes standard with a spare tire, unlike the truck, which does not. And it actually has a magnesium center bore here to attempt to save weight, but they had to put a lot of work in this to be able to accommodate the huge weight of these big Goodyear tires. Now, to open the gate, if you want to look over here, Alex, there's a little button. You push in on that button, and now that swing gate will glide open, fully electronic. And fold the seats down, we're talking something like 82 cubic feet worth of space. But one thing I want to point out is actually the lift over height. So I'm going to take the camera from Alex Alex is what, 5'1" and a bit?
Yeah.
So Alex, try to get the bag out of there. Let's see how that works. So you can see she can do it, but that liftover height has got to be close to 4 feet tall, maybe 3.5 feet. And the battery lives underneath the vehicle, so there's really a lot of space there. Now, what about underneath? Do we have any storage under there? Not much, a little bit there for like rags and that kind of thing. And then you do have your jack back here. You can also fold down the rear seats at a push of a button there. Here, I'll take that, thank you. We'll stick this back in there. But that is definitely a compromise you make when you go for the SUV version. Now, interestingly enough, there's no third row option. So even though the size of this vehicle is definitely full-size SUV, it's only a 2-row. But Alex, you want to hop in the passenger seat and let's show off some of the interior features. So one thing I love about this first edition are all the copper accents throughout. So if you want to look over here, not only is the Edition 1 lined in this cool gold copper color, but so are these vertically mounted vents, which also kind of look like little Hummer logos. They match the taillights and they look really cool, but really good attention to detail in here, from the little Hummer EV there to these floor mats that have these removable center sections. I think this is really cool, and it really makes cleaning easy on this vehicle. You can pull those out. You also have that moon kind of vibe all throughout this interior. But we'll go ahead and boot up the screens here. Over a 12-inch cluster screen, over a 14-inch digital screen. And I'm really impressed with the way they've actually incorporated the Google connectivity in this. So not only do you have the ability to communicate it through the Google like Alexa suite, but you can also search right here on Google Maps, and it integrates into the drive system. So you can see if we wanted to go, for example, to this hotel or to this inn, we'd be there with 45%, and it uses all the best Google Map data, so you know what the traffic situation is, all that kind of thing. Throughout the middle here, toggles galore. So everything here is a toggle, which is very cool. Although everybody initially tries to touch this little screen, it's actually all done through a toggle. Here we have more toggles for the heated steering wheel, the rear locker, the front locker, part of that $5,000 off-road package. Traction control off. These are improving in quality. On their first press trucks, these felt a little cheap, but I feel like they're getting a lot better. Wireless charging tray down here with a little lid. You can cover that puppy up. And a nice thing is you can actually still see your phone when it's vertical. Shifter selector here. Park, reverse, neutral drive, all toggle forward and backward. And then we have the different four-wheel drive modes here, which you can control by spinning this knob. It'll boot into the Hummer screens. You've got terrain modes. You've got tow haul modes. This vehicle has standard air suspension. You can lift it up to 16 inches of ground clearance. We also have different rear steer modes here. So if you see that there, Alex, you can go between standard front steer or rear steer, all at the push of a button. And that rear steer will decrease the turning circle to something around 35 feet. I also like this cluster a lot because, check this out, it's very configurable, and you can see all sorts of different information on the right screen, and then you can also change the overall look depending on kind of what mood you're in. I always thought that was really cool on these Hummers. You can cycle between them. We also have Super Cruise activated up here in the steering wheel. You get lights, hands-free driving. It is true hands-free, hands feet off. You do have to pay attention to the road. It watches your eyes, but access to up to 400,000 miles of pre-mapped roads so that you can just cruise in absolute comfort and serenity. These roof panels here, they do come off. You can see the latches up here. You can spin those latches and pull them off. They don't appear to be clear though, which is interesting. That's something I want to ask the engineer about. And then we do have the digital rearview mirror up here, so you can cycle between your standard glass mirror and your digital rearview mirror. Big center console here. Look at that, money all over the place. $10, I only need 109,900 and something more to afford this vehicle. Heated steering wheel, beautifully leather wrapped, and then of course you got your stocks. Got a couple of regen modes here too. You pull this panel to get additional regen, and then they also said that the terrain, the extreme off-road package does decrease the range a little bit, but we don't have that exact number. They haven't released that yet. All right, let's check out the rear seat, Alex. So we're gonna go ahead and fold this up. You can see that it does make a flat floor with the trunk, which is nice for hauling larger items. These panels also come off, so you can have a true convertible experience in this vehicle. And it is a true 5-seater, and I do mean 5-seater. This is one of the largest, widest middle seats in the industry. Now, not quite as much room back here as you'd expect like in a full-size Silverado, but still good room, still have heated rear seats, still have a lot of space and a lot of comfort and a lot of headroom, even at 6 feet tall. Doing pretty darn well in headroom. But let's close this puppy up. The Hummer EV SUV. I'm excited about this vehicle. I think it really is a good form factor. It competes with vehicles like the fully electric Rivian R1S, right? So it does have some pretty steep competition, and the EQS Mercedes-AMG, but I do love that they put a lot of emphasis not only on range, but also capability. So you got all that ground clearance, skid plates, and we got a full review coming up here shortly when the embargo lifts. But let us know what you think in the comment section below. This has been Tommy behind the camera, Alex. We'll see you on the next video.